Hi, this is Bearded Vulture, and welcome to the Level-0 Lorecast, where I talk to my friends and try to get them interested into the SCP Foundation's overarching lore. They basically have no knowledge whatsoever, and this is a very basic introduction, but hopefully it's something interesting to listen to. This is episode 1, and it is very much a work in progress. There are a lot of kinks that we need to work out, but otherwise I think there's some content that should be worth listening to here. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Alright, so I'm here with Chandler.
Hello.
And I'm going to introduce him to the SCP Foundation, more or less. What do you know about the Foundation?
All I know is about that fan game that was made after it.
Containment Breach?
Yeah, I only know about the Containment Breach. That's all I know about it. I played a little bit of that, never got far.
Okay.
Never read any like the lore or anything. I just kind of someone told me to download it and I did.
So you were surprised to find out that it was a fan game.
Yeah, no, it was. I did not know it was a fan game at all. I thought that was like an official.
Yeah, I mean it's easy to understand that because of how unique it was at the time. There were no other games like it at the point.
Right, and it was made. They put a lot of detail into that game.
Mm-hmm. So the SCP Foundation, it's a wiki that was formed in 2007-ish, and it's like a big internet staple at this point.
Gotcha.
It really popularized around the time Containment Breach came out. I'm gonna say like 2010-ish, 2011, maybe
Right.
after that. I don't know. It's hard to remember, but think of it like a fictional, not universe. It's not really a universe because it's there's multiple universes in it existing at the same time, but it's one big like mythos.
So it's like a lot of. So it's a lot. It's got to be a large wiki, right?
Yes, there are thousands of entries and thousands of stories. It can go on for ages. I mean, the whole thing's existed for over 10 years at this point.
Right, and it has to do. Does it have to do all with the game? Is it like about scary type of?
The thing about the game is that it uses the most popular SCPs, which are the names of like the entities, and
but is it? Huh.
It's more focused towards the scary things, but the scary things in the wiki are far and few between. You have to really look for them to find them.
Government? Is this supposed to be like government creatures?
So, the SCP Foundation is an organization that is more or less free from any government oversight. They're tasked with basically finding anomalous entities in our world and containing them so that the world is safe from their habits and their, what's it called?
They're always dangerous?
They're not always dangerous.
Sometimes it's just to hide it from the public more than it is to keep it safe, right?
Because the knowledge of these items would cause more panic and would disrupt reality as we know it. Because you can have any items ranging from a penny that always flips face side up, or something that's like the literal devil. Like things that are extra dimensional from different parallel universes and stuff like this. And like there's you can go on for ages with stuff like that. Parallel dimensions, pocket dimensions, separate realities.
Anything kind of just out of the norm of like the math and physics that we know today.
Yes and no. Think of it as abnormal items or people or happenings in the world. There are some different security clearance levels for personnel in the Foundation, ranging from level 0 to level 5. Level 0 is basically non-essential personnel, people that are outside the Foundation that are related to people that work in the Foundation. So like if they know about the Foundation, they have an easier time understanding what their relation to that person is about, you know what I mean? Like what they do.
Right. So as long as they just know about it, basically they're level 0.
Yes, but they don't have any like real permissions
They
to read up on archives.
couldn't really go anywhere in it. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. But then there's level 1 access. This is more for janitors, cooks, stuff like staff, general staff. They don't really have access to any archives or research material, but they're staff that works on site. Sites are a whole other thing. Think of it like a site is a place where SCPs are contained or
Right,
researched.
so they're probably cleaning up like a ton of blood and like weird like.
Oh, I'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
You have level 2 clearance, which is more assigned to researchers, like junior level researchers that work on labs or archive data.
If I just got hired, I'd probably be level 2.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to have like a PhD.
Right. If I was like, yeah, if I got my doctorate and I just got hired.
Yeah, and like they do this through like front companies. Like maybe you'll be applying at like an accounting agency, which just so happens to have the same initials as the SCP Foundation.
Just kind of like sneaking in there real quick.
Library contest artwork. Okay, so basically, you move up a step, level 3. These are senior researchers, project leads, heads of research on SCPs. You know, they're trying to figure out what's causing these items to be anomalous and all that. Most researchers are level 3. But then you move up a step, which is level 4. Level 4 is administration, site directors, commanders for task forces, people that have more of a leadership role at the sites. But then you have level 5 access. Level 5 access is usually restricted to the O5 Council and anyone they deem necessary that can have that kind of clearance. Now, the O5 Council is more or less the leadership of the Foundation. There are 13 of them, and they are very mysterious. They are numbered
Kind of like they run the whole thing, right?
Yes, they provide direction for the Foundation's goals and missions and stuff like that. They know everything there is about the Foundation. There's 051 through 0513. There are different
security clearances inside of the security clearances, right?
Yes. Well, yes, because
just in 5.
You can have level 2 researchers working on one project, which is maybe like 3
Right.
SCPs grouped together, but you have other researchers working beside them with 3 other SCPs.
Gotcha.
So in canon, writers make this like level 3 / whatever SCP number they are on.
Any of this is real?
No, it's all fictional.
Or
It's
something,
all.
maybe something. Do you think something like it is real?
I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
There's a theory that I've seen once, but it was like maybe the Foundation keeps all of this public information to suspend disbelief. To be like, if all this is fake, they would obviously keep it out in the open like this. But if it was all real, it makes sense to keep it all in the open so that people think it's fake.
Some reverse psychology, basically, right? Just
Yeah.
all of this. Dang.
But this is all fake. It's all writers
That's
that
what we think. Yeah, that's what we
present their
think.
stories. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to present to you the most common, the most popular SCP. The original, called the Sculpture. You'll recognize them.
Alright.
SCP-173. I'm going to send you a screenshot.
Well, I know SCP-173. That's the one I know from the game.
Yep. Have you read his article?
I've not read any.
It's actually in the game. Okay. Articles are more or less formatted with the item number, their object class, their special containment procedures, and their description, and then any other extra information that's provided.
Gotcha. Now, in the game, they do tests on these subjects by like using prisoners. Is that what?
Yes.
Is that
Class
in the
D
wiki too?
personnel. Yes. Class D personnel are generally prisoners that are sentenced to death row. The Foundation, what's it called? They source them from local prisons near sites, and they are given like a case to their lawyers. It's like, if you agree to work for this company, your death sentence will be revoked, but you'll have to work for us. But they're more or less expendable personnel. They aren't
They're probably
researchers,
gonna
they're not
die in
valuable.
there too, right?
Yes, more or less, they're usually dying, but they can be used for other menial labor,
Right,
stuff like that.
Like the penny you said that is always on heads. That's not gonna kill you, but
No, but I mean, you could have a D-class transported to try and keep the, like, you know, keep it safe from any other groups that would want it. The thing is, like, there are other groups out there that deal with anomalous entities. Some want to use them for their own power. Some want to use them for monetary gain. Some create them. And, you know, you want to keep your SCPs away from them because you don't know what these groups will do with them.
Alright. I don't know how you create something like that. That's like next level.
Yeah, that's like one of the bigger points about the Foundation is that they're trying to figure out these items so that they can keep them safe.
What if any like the rich people out there in the world, like Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, I wonder if they're creating this type of shit.
Oh, there's definitely stuff about that we can get to later.
Oh, I bet.
So this article, SCP-173, its object class is Euclid. Here's the thing about object classes. There are generally 6. Wait, Safe, Euclid, Keter, Thaumiel, Polyon. There are 5. Safe does not necessarily mean the item is safe. There's literally a gun that shoots teeth when it's classified as safe. Safe designation is for SCPs that are mainly activated through interaction, and they don't risk breaching containment.
Right, so if you just left them alone.
Yes, if you left them alone, locked in a box, they wouldn't break out, no one would activate their powers or anything.
Got it.
Euclid items are SCPs that have the potential to break out of their containment, but otherwise they're easy to contain. Well, that's relative, but that's a whole other thing. 173 is Euclid because you can lock it in the box and it won't get out. But the only
SCP-173 is? Or
yes.
Got it.
And you can lock it in a box and it won't get out.
Really not safe. It's really not safe though, right?
No, it's not safe at all. But if it breaks out, it's very hard to contain again. That's why it's Euclid. Keter objects are objects that have no real way to contain them. They are very easy to break out, and containment is almost impossible. The way the Foundation gets around this most of the time is by cordoning off an area around the SCP. So, like, they buy land and fence it off, and anyone that gets close, they'll arrest or turn away or whatever.
Right.
But moving back to...
You just have to kind of hope that it stays in its area, basically?
Yes. Those are the 3 basic ones. I'm going to get to the other ones when we get to items that include those, but they're more complicated. So, with the special containment procedures, 173 is kept in a locked container at all times. When personnel must enter 173's container, no fewer than 3 may enter at any time, and the doors to be relocked behind them. At all times, 2 persons must maintain direct eye contact with 173 until all personnel have vacated and relocked the container. Obviously, this is just to keep it from escaping.
Right, someone has to always be watching it, right?
Yes. Move to Site 19. Site 19 is the most important site in Foundation. It is the largest site in the world. And it is, I think, near Iowa, near Illinois. It's somewhere in the Midwest like that. It's intentionally left vague as to its location, but they tell you it's in that region. The origin is as of yet unknown. It is constructed of concrete and rebar with traces of Krylon brand spray paint. 173 is animate and extremely hostile. The object cannot move on the direct line of sight. Well, yada yada yada. It's 173. People know about it.
Isn't the whole game based on 173 not being seen?
The whole game isn't just based on that. There are multiple SCPs in the game. 173 is the first one you come across.
Right, but that's like how it all starts in the game, right?
Yes.
How the breach starts?
Yes. I think actually in it, it's like Chaos Insurgency destroying the generator or something like that.
So basically, if like one of these gets out of control, the rest could all just...
Depends on the SCP. 173 is very simply written. It's a very old article, so it's full of discrepancies and stuff. So I'm gonna have
like
you.
One of the originals, right?
Yes, it is actually the original.
Wow.
I don't know if it's the first one, but it's one of them. I'm gonna have you pick a number between 500 and 599.
12.
512. All right, this is the gravity nullifying umbrella. I've never read this article before. Yeah, it's not that bad. Okay. SCP-512, object class safe. 512 is held within Site-77, safe object repository. It is to be shut at all times. Testing during adverse weather conditions is forbidden. All outdoor testing proposals must be reviewed by Security Chief Anderson. Okay, the description is 512 is a stainless steel black umbrella with nylon canopy, polished ebony crook handle. Maximum raised canopy when open is 0.75 meters. Make and manufacturer unknown. And the tape patch is visible on the canopy section. Alright, now this is where the anomalous effects come in. When open and pointed upward, 512 exerts an upwards force in opposition to Earth's gravity in a roughly dome-shaped area directly above itself with a cross-sectional area of roughly 1.77 meters squared. Precipitation and other objects will be suspended and deflected within this area of effect, and SCP-512 has no effect when closed or when held at a horizontal angle. Despite 512's efficacy against normal precipitation, it is inadvisable to use the object during severe weather, though through Jesus Christ, this grammar. Through an as yet unknown process, the item's anomalous effect causes the air above it to become extremely ionized. This interaction also causes electrical current to greatly increase in amperage while in direct contact with the item. Okay. This causes the threat of direct lightning strikes to become exceptionally dangerous to any individual holding 512, as evidenced through the death of its original owner, as well as D-512-33. That's not really standard numbering for a D class.
But it's just like some random prisoner got struck by lightning, right?
Yes, someone that was holding it during an experiment. Electrical current appears to travel across the surface, causing little or no damage. Okay. Then the recovery stuff. Testing summary. Test items. Okay.
I wonder how they would find something like that. I wonder how they would know that this umbrella did it. Like this one umbrella was like.
It actually says it. SCP-512 was recovered from a public park in Redacted, Florida. Local emergency services had been summoned to evacuate the area due to reports of unusual lightning strikes, and SCP-512 was discovered caught on a street lamp and fully opened, with evidence of several lightning strikes in the immediate area. Its handle was noted to be covered in ash. Foundation personnel intervened after local newspapers began reporting on the anomalous properties. Testing logs. Addendum Experiment D-512-33. Testing item D-Class personnel. Testing procedure. Object taken to Site-77 outdoors field for testing of the vertical distance of the anti-gravity effect. An unexpected severe storm occurred during testing, and the rain-propelling properties of SCP-512 coupled with exceptionally low pressure caused a suction effect in the region directly above the object. 512 pulled the D-Class, holding it upward into the air and drifted on prevailing wind currents. 512-33 was able to hold on to 512 as it rapidly gained altitude, and the D-Class glided over Site-77 perimeter and into the surrounding area. And it was observed that 512-33 quickly developed skill in altering angle of anti-gravity effect to allow for semi-controlled flight. A helicopter was launched to pursue the object, and D-512-33, the object was recaptured following a lightning strike. That's funny. He basically flew away Mary Poppins style until a lightning strike killed him.
So you can fly with them, bro.
Yep. Basically, like, propel yourself. There are definitely more interesting SCPs. Actually, I have some bookmark.
No doubt, but that one's like so simple that it's really interesting to me.
Like, there's a lot of those. Or like, how did this happen? What's the story behind them? That one I can tell was a pretty old article though. 2935, 3600. Oh, that one's good.
The older ones are probably better, right?
No.
Oh,
because as time has gone on, the writing styles of people have improved, and more common writing practices have been put into effect that are more consistent and grammatically correct, and they make more sense in the universe.
I'm like an umbrella.
Yeah. Alright, this one I found today, and this one was very interesting. Alright, here's a preface. Not all of these are supposed to make sense. They're intentionally left mysterious, and it's like to build your own theories and to make realizations that aren't obvious.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, cool. This one's Thaumiel. Alright. This is SCP number 3600. Let me find the name of it real quick.
How many SCPs are there?
Thousands. Over 4,000 at this point.
Whew.
I think. It's somewhere around 4,000. Alright. 3600. Documenting Doomsday is the name of this SCP. The way the SCP the way the SCPs are numbered is from Series 1 to Series 5. Series 5 is only opened up last October, I think.
Yeah.
Every series is 1,000 SCPs, going from number 1 to 999 in Series 1. Series 2 is 1,000 to 1,999, and so on. So this is SCP-3600. Object class is Thaumiel. Do you have any idea what Thaumiel means?
I do not. Can you please tell me?
Okay. Thaumiel SCPs are SCPs that are used to contain an anomalous entity. So, the way they explain containment with, like, the containment classes are with cardboard boxes. So, safe is, it's a cardboard box, and if the thing inside the box stays inside the box, it's safe. If the thing inside the box has the ability to get out of the box, then it's Euclid. If the thing inside the box, if the thing doesn't fit inside the box, it's Cuter. Or no. If it constantly gets out of the box or something like that, it's Cuter. But Thaumiel is if the thing is the box. So yes, there are SCPs used to contain another anomalous thing. So this one's I'm not gonna say advanced. It's an intermediate SCP. There's a lot of lore behind these. Okay, special containment procedures. SCP-3600 is an Epsilon class cognitohazard. Cognitohazards are an entire thing on their own. Okay, think of it like it's a thought, a phrase, an object, or something that's said, and it messes with your mind. It messes with your cognition.
That's gotta be advanced, man.
It's very
like in my thoughts.
Yes, like you can see a symbol on a wall and you will die. That's called
like a spirit, almost, right?
No. It's just like some kind of like anomalous information that goes into your brain and kills you. That one is more specifically called like a mimetic kill agent.
Sounds like a demon.
Yes,
Right now.
There's definitely demons that do this. I actually have another one that I was gonna get to. That's actually more funny. But this one is a cognitohazard, so it's hazardous to your cognition. It should not be directly viewed by Foundation personnel under any circumstances. Suspected or unconfirmed instances of SCP-3600 are not to be viewed until proper testing can be performed to determine their status. 3600 can be temporarily contained by covering it in opaque material until proper containment can be established.
So someone's got to really like check on this thing, right? Someone's got to die for them to know that this thing is still where it's supposed to be.
It goes into it in this article. Yep, we'll get there.
Wow, they get really advanced with this.
Limited exposure of D-class personnel to 3600 is permitted for testing purposes with approval from the site director. So basically, the site director himself has to be like, you guys can go through this. But otherwise, no.
Are they going to die if they do?
Yeah, we'll get there.
You got to tell me about it. Yeah, you got to tell me
we'll get there. No personnel should be exposed to more than 3 characters of 3600 during these tests, unless occurring as a part of Project Thaya. 3600 is to be stored in a custom-fitted steel case, sealed via welding to ensure it cannot be accessed. Okay.
Is it physical?
Yes. Here is the description. SCP-3600 is a previously undocumented language believed to originate in Mesopotamia circa 3000 BC that when accurately rendered on a static surface produces a cognitohazardous effect. The language, designated Trilosect A, superficially resembles cuneiform, though it's significantly more variety and complexity. SCP-3601 is a stone tablet. Alright, let me rephrase that. SCP-3600-1, which will be referred to from here on as 3601, just because the dash doesn't need to be said. It is a stone tablet measuring 3.7 meters by 1.8 meters by 0.25 meters. So it's a pretty big tablet. It's like a wall, basically.
Right, that's huge.
Yes. Containing over 10,000 unique individual characters of SCP-3600 on its front face. When viewed directly by a conscious sapient entity, SCP-3600 transfers to the viewer a detailed knowledge of potential K-class scenarios. The viewer will become aware of this knowledge over the course of approximately 48 hours.
What's a K-class scenario?
Okay. There's a lot of mystery behind K-class scenarios, but the general idea is that it's a scenario that can end the world, or reality, or our universe, or our dimension, or any combination of the two.
So like an obvious K-class scenario would be like, like nuclear war.
Yes, that would be a C-class, CK class, I think. An asteroid hitting. Yes, right. Natural disasters are K-class scenarios, but you can also have things caused by anomalous objects. Usually those are XK class scenarios, and those are some of the worst.
Gotcha.
The viewer will become aware of this knowledge over the course of approximately 48 hours. Okay. Each individual character in SCP-3600 imparts knowledge of a single scenario, though this effect has been shown to be multiplicative. If an individual exposed to multiple characters, the number of scenarios of which they have knowledge will be greater than the number of characters they have seen. Basically, if you are shown 3 characters, you may be able to see 6, 9, any number. But it's usually more than what you're shown. So it's bad. Right. In order to count as an instance of 3600 and thus possess cognitohazardous properties, a character must match the original with an accuracy of at least 91%. So if you draw the character and it's like, 80% accurate, nothing will happen. I'm actually going to show you a picture of what the alphabet looks like as some of the characters. Prepare to see a whole lot of those black bars, by the way.
That's alright. It's like the Romans, kind of like, if the Romans ran into this. Sorry, I took 4 years of Roman history.
It's like ancient Sumerian. Like,
right.
Yeah.
To this, bro, I wonder if they, read some of this and then just,
Oh, yeah, there's totally articles that are, ancient Greek philosophers having anomalous items and stuff like that.
Right.
That's super cool.
I've read so much about materials old civilizations had, but there wasn't much of them on Earth, and they ran out of them.
There's actually a new one of my favorite writers on the site is making a new storyline with an ancient civilization that no one remembers and stuff like that. Where was I?
Yo, man, some of that stuff could be more real than we think.
Yep, it's possible. Stuff that we've forgotten.
Right, or just materials that we ran out of, materials that were so limited on Earth but had so much unique properties that we haven't thought of yet.
Okay. Scenarios imparted by 3600 range from the natural or man-made, asteroid impacts, nuclear war, global pandemics, etc., to the anomalous, with these scenarios typically being the result of a failure to contain or the improper handling of anomalous phenomena. So basically, if you let's say you have an orb that if you broke it, it would destroy the world. So if you saw one of these characters and you saw a D-class holding this orb and you dropped it and it broke, that's a vision of a failure to contain it and it would end the world. Stuff like that. So it's a big thing where it's the Foundation contains all these items to prevent the world ending.
And so they're kind of doing a good thing.
Yes. But there are definitely times where they've had to abandon humanity. We will get to those, my friend. Oh my god. I love it. I love it. Along with the knowledge of the scenario itself, viewers of 3600 also gain any knowledge that would be required to bring that scenario into actuality. This SCP is so interesting. Knowledge gained from 3600 typically manifests as the ability to construct anomalous devices possessing the required functionality to trigger the specific scenario. Devices constructed in this way are designated 3600-2. In cases where an SCP object is involved, they might instead gain an awareness of how to breach containment on the object, or in cases of currently uncontained anomalies, where that object might be found. If the scenario can be brought about without the use of anomalous technology, knowledge of how to use available resources to create mundane technology is granted. For a list of recovered 3602 instances, see the attached document. And there is an attached document. I'll show you what this looks like right now.
Yeah, do that, because I'm kind of confused.
This is what I'm looking at. Those red links are collapsibles.
Actually, let me see this. Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot blacked out and footnotes and stuff. Actually, let me read that first footnote. This one is about the mundane technology and all that.
Okay.
The mundane technology is granted. While these devices are not afforded an SCP designation, they should be contained and then dismantled properly, because they could end the world. On blank blank dash, sometime in the 2010s. The only information you have of the year is 201. So sometime in 2010s, senior researcher Dr. R. Blank, who I guess we'll just call Dr. R, was inadvertently exposed to 27 characters of 3600 while performing tests to determine if cognitohazardous effects could be produced by mechanical replication. 6 hours after his exposure, he entered a coma-like state and remained non-responsive for 86 hours, following a mandatory 4-week evaluation period, during which time Dr. R provided documentation on 37 different K-class scenarios. He was allowed to return to active duty. Alright.
Class, is that end of the world?
K-class, yes.
He was just like, so he found out 37 different scenarios for the world.
It gets better, dude. It gets so much better.
Gosh.
Okay.
And they let him back on duty? Oh no.
Yeah, right.
Oh my god, I would have fired that.
Oh, we'll get
They
there.
probably should have executed him. Oh, I'm sure we will.
So this is SCP-3600 experiment notes. These are some experiments that they performed. Summary of informationally relevant tests involving SCP-3600. All SCP-3600 characters involved in tests confirmed to be cognitohazardous beforehand, unless otherwise noted. For full log, contact the senior researcher, which does exist. Okay. This is experiment number 5. Subject D5674-3. Exposure to 3672 K2, which is, I guess, just an individual character that I've cataloged. It's a weird naming system. The D-Class provided detailed knowledge on an anomalous plant species that consumes oxygen and produces carbon dioxide, which would rapidly spread across the Earth, quickly outcompeting most extant plant species and resulting in the removal of oxygen from Earth's atmosphere, triggering an RK-class restructuring scenario. According to D5674-3, the anomalous plant species can easily be created by data expunged. Now, here's the thing about expunging data. There's 3 types. You have redacted, data expunged, and the black bars. Redacted data is data that's been intentionally left out for legal or security reasons. This is usually evidence of like a level 5 file that a level 3 accesses. They'll leave out stuff so that the level 3 researcher doesn't see more than he's supposed to. Data expunged is information that's been deleted entirely.
Why would they delete stuff entirely?
Because it's either too horrible or it's something that risks the end of the world, like this does.
For level 5, right? They just don't want to know that?
They'll. It's assumed that they have other copies of the file that are unedited for their access. Yeah.
So level 5s can probably access everything, right?
Yes. 05. There's like an 05 class level, but it's like, it's thin line.
No, like the worst things in the universe.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, there's so much. This is child's play.
Oh god. Yeah,
like,
I bet. Some people get creative when they're on the internet like that.
Like, this SCP is only about seeing doomsday scenarios. There are SCPs that are the doomsdays. You know what I mean?
Oh, God. Yeah, not the... We're still talking about the brick tablet, right?
Yes. The actual alphabet itself. Okay, this is Experiment 6, Subject 56743, the same D class from last time. Exposure to a different letter. The D class gained detailed knowledge on the progress and long-term effects of a nuclear war-induced nuclear winter scenario. Additionally, he was able to provide detailed designs for 3 different types of nuclear devices, of which one was a previously unconsidered design estimated to have an explosive yield of blacked out megatons. It's the 3-digit number. The D class possesses an education level analogous to that of an American high school graduate. Supplied plans for the aforementioned devices suggested an education equivalent to the advanced degrees in physics, chemistry, and mechanical engineering. So basically,
just learn this stuff like instantly.
Exactly, because he saw the letter. The knowledge that he gained.
Send me some of those letters.
Yeah.
Did you just send me some of those letters, dude?
Listen,
why would you do that to me?
Because look, I'm gonna
I
go
don't
up.
want to know this.
Where is it? Additionally, digital photographs and video recordings of the alphabet have been determined to be safe for viewing. Thank you. Good day. Okay.
Jeez. So he was able to see the world ending.
Yes, he sees the world ending, and he gains the knowledge of how to do it.
Oh God. And they probably work for like the U.S. government, so the U.S. government probably just immediately learns this kind of stuff.
Well, the Foundation doesn't work for the government. They get government funding, but they don't work for the government.
Government friendly from the U.S. government?
All governments, actually, because they have sites all over the world. Russia,
oh, really?
India.
So they have, okay, so not just U.S.
They have sites on the moon, dude. Area 32.
Jesus Christ, on the moon? And we just don't know about it?
Yeah, literally, it's they have designations for sites, areas, and outposts and stuff like that, but sites are publicly known facilities, but they have a cover that's like, it's a power plant, or it's a factory for manufacturing toothbrushes or something like that. But
people
secretly,
could be
they're black
working
sites.
for this place, and they don't even know it.
Yeah, I was literally reading SCP today about a dude that was contracted to deliver donuts to a staff room when he had no idea the Foundation existed. He's like, I just thought I was delivering donuts to an office building.
What a weird job. That sounds like an awesome job, though. Like, on low, though.
Yeah, right.
Like,
but then you also have areas, and areas are places that no one knows exist except the Foundation, and even then, there are researchers that aren't told this information simply because it's not necessary for their work. You know what I mean? They don't need to know.
Right. They don't need that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, they probably don't want to know it either, right?
Oh yeah, there are SCPs about that
information. Right. I mean,
stories of people knowing too much.
You deliver like pharmaceutical drugs right now as a job. I wonder if I'm like. I wonder if I'm involved in that kind of thing.
Yeah, right. It's awesome.
It'd be insane. For real.
This is the last test of D56743. The test was exposure to another letter from the alphabet. Only one, by the way. After 48 hours, the D class possessed knowledge of 3 additional scenarios. An XK class end of the world scenario, the most common, that's in the articles, some of the most worst. Triggered by the impact of an asteroid with the Earth, along with details for the construction of a device he described as a gravity lance, which would pull the asteroid into Earth's orbital path. An NK class self-replicating material scenario. Well, that's the thing. That's what the SCP does. It gives you the knowledge of how to create it. It's not like he wants to.
Oh.
It just happens.
Right. So that SCP is probably thinking about creating.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. Is this SCP alive or is it not? Is it a conscious thing? That would be bad.
It's gotta be if it's given all these ideas, like.
Well, sometimes it's like, think of it like, in a video game where like you'll read someone's diary and you'll hear their voice in the background. It's like someone else's thoughts put into this alphabet, and then when they read the alphabet, they are fed that information. But it's
so
more
modern. If it's so modern, like nuclear war, and it's supposed to be made 3000 BC, then it's gotta be alive.
Isn't that the mystery?
Oh God, we're all gonna die.
It sees into the future for sure. This is an NK class self-replicating material scenario caused by the uncontrolled release of SCP blank. I actually think I know what SCP this is, by the way. It's not that.
Huh.
It's not that secret. There's an SCP that's a crystal that when it touches something, some material, that'll turn into crystal itself. There's an SCP that if you touch it, it turns anything it touches into marble. It could be that. There's an SCP that when exposed to the air, just replicates into the air and occupying the space that's contained in. Stuff like that.
How do they contain something like that, or is that incontainable?
The crystal can be contained by granite. It's the only material it cannot alter. So they keep it in a granite box. The SCP that turns into marble, it's literally a person. He has the effect. So they just keep him locked away and have leather gloves on him so he can't turn anything into marble. But there's a whole other story with that too. One of my favorite stories too.
Like, how many tests they did to know the only thing that can stop that.
Like in that article, it's literally like they keep him in the Foundation's custody for his entire life, and at the end, it becomes so bad for him that his lungs are filled with marble dust, his skin is covered in marble dust, his eyes are like he can't sleep. All he feels is the marble emanating from his skin, and it's like horrible.
God, so he's just sitting there suffering, and he doesn't even know that he's like.
Yeah.
Like a demon, and he doesn't even know he's a demon.
Yep, and like a huge question that gets asked a whole lot is why don't they just destroy these things? Why don't they just kill these people and stuff like that? The easy answer is sometimes they can't. It's not possible. But another thing is like they keep these items not to kill them, not to destroy them, because they want to gain research from them. It's a scientific.
You gotta study that. You gotta study it, right? No doubt. That's what our government. That's what any
This article actually goes into that. He claimed the knowledge to break the SCP out of its containment and site blank, as well as method by which SCP blank effects could be duplicated. So this guy learned how to duplicate an SCP, which is huge. It's actually huge. No one think about it this way: if you have no idea how an anomalous entity works or how it was made, especially something that could turn anything you touch into stone, and you can figure out how to duplicate it, you can figure out how to unmake it too. You can figure out who made it, how they made it, and stuff like that. It's huge breakthroughs in knowledge.
How did this guy do that?
Yeah, right. Because he saw the alphabet, and the alphabet told him.
He's like an SCP himself, basically, at this point.
No, because he's being affected by the SCP. A CK class restructuring scenario that would result in every civilization that emerged outside of the African continent prior to 1801 being erased from history. Completely erased from history.
Oh.
That's the thing. Information supplied by the D-Class resulted data expunged, which has now been contained as SCP blank. So he told the researchers what he knew, and they found an SCP because of that. And that SCP is what could cause that scenario.
They just probably have that captured somewhere, and we just can't know about it.
Now, here's the thing. There's a note here that says D-Class 56743 is currently working with the Foundation scientists on a modified version of his proposed gravity lance for potential use in deflecting Earth hazardous asteroids. So that's where it comes into effect, where because they have this SCP contained, they gain scientific knowledge that benefited mankind. On the other hand, though, it's still the gravity lance which could be altered to pull an asteroid into the Earth. Experiment 15. Oh yeah, it gets so much better.
Is this on one website?
One website.
Dark website full of a bunch of
anomalous materials. Yep.
Right.
Crazy
bunch
shit.
Of weirdos.
I actually was writing my own article, but I completely forgot. Experiment 15. D-Class 74667. Test exposure to a random selection of 50 characters. This is where it gets bad.
Oh god. So they exposed one guy to 50. How many characters are there total?
10,000. D74667 immediately began seizing and soon after entered coma-like state. MRI scans show significant neurological trauma. 74667 did not recover and was terminated after 2 months of observation.
Oh god.
So this is what they did.
You can't handle 300 characters.
You want to know what they did to fix it?
What they do?
Experiment 17, D67521. Test exposure to a random selection of 50 3600 characters, one per day over the course of 50 days. Like, it's so funny to me because of like this is it's so wild.
Right. This is crazy.
Following the third day, after the third character, basically 67521 reported an awareness of an exponentially increasing number of scenarios. 67521 began to display signs of depression following the 11th exposure.
No shit. It's just like it's almost dead.
After the 22nd exposure, suggestions of a desire to construct an instance of 3602, which was one of the devices that would cause the end of the world, were noted by researcher staff. Following exposure of the 35th character in the test set, 67521 displayed signs of significant mental degradation, and following exposure to the 40th character, entered a catatonic state in which he recited details on various scenarios in a monotone voice without pause for 325 hours before expiring from exhaustion.
Jesus Christ.
It drove her,
probably, right?
yeah, it drove her insane, and she died because she was talking for 325 hours straight. Let's do some math, Chandler.
It's just some
Let's
math.
see.
I feel in college. What math are we doing?
How many days is 325 hours? That's 13.5 days.
Just talking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just. This is how the world. Like, was she talking about how the world's gonna end or what?
Yep. Details of various scenarios in
3.5
monotone voice.
Oh, I wonder how many scenarios. I wonder if it took like a day to talk about one scenario, or if it was.
That's a good question.
3 hours or not?
How long would it have
You don't know
taken?
Right, for one scenario. How many scenarios did she spit out in that time?
That kind of gets addressed later in the article.
Really?
We're on the last two experiments here.
Got it.
Experiment 27 with a new D class. Exposure to one alphabet number with the intention to allow partial construction of an anomalous technology. See the recovery log for details. Okay. Next experiment, experiment 37, 57684, exposure to 3601A1 through 3620A1. So that's 20 alphabet numbers. Alphabet characters. Sequentially.
Yeah.
With 2 days between each exposure. So it's a little bit better now. They're given time between the exposures.
Right.
Following exposure to the...
Because they know that,
Yeah, they know that doing it so soon will
kill
cause
you.
insanity, yeah. Following exposure to the 15th character, the D-Class began to show symptoms of anxiety and depression. He claimed to have knowledge of 68 separate K-Class scenarios.
God, you can learn so much from this.
Mm-hmm. Following the conclusion of the test, D-Class 5768-4 claimed knowledge of 93 separate scenarios, and was additionally shown symptoms of emotional detachment and disassociation. He was shown 20 characters and learned 93 ways the world could end. That's nearly 5 times the amount of characters he was shown.
I wonder how violent they were, man. I wonder how, like, scenarios that could have happened but didn't happen? Or were they all, like, scenarios that
Oh,
happened
yes.
right now?
There are perfect examples of stuff like that. SCPs that were meant to destroy the world but failed. And they're the most interesting ones, too. Because it's like,
Wow.
why did they fail? Or why were they made? And stuff like that.
Because they really got everything covered in this.
Mm-hmm. Dude,
Jesus, people have, like, wow.
the amount of detail in this wiki is insane. Like, alright, think of it this way. Think of every
Yeah,
buzzword.
definitely insane.
Think of every buzzword. Like, things that you think are made up. D-Class, the experiments, the researcher names, like, the cognito hazard, mimetic, Project Thea. Every single one of those has a backstory. And countless stories that involve those, too. It's crazy. K-Class scenarios, they get me started. Okay.
I'm surprised this guy's so popular, but I'm also not surprised.
Yeah, right. So
People on dark stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah.
this one is pretty scary. This last experiment. The addendum is 2 weeks after the conclusion of the experiment, the D-Class was caught attempting to steal a quartz crystal used as a paperweight from the office of blank. A search of his cell revealed multiple stolen items to which the D-Class later confessed were to become components of an instance of 3602. Based on his description, it is unlikely that he would have been able to complete the device with the resources available to him. A restriction on the number of characters a single individual can be exposed to has been implemented. He was building a device that no one knew for 2 weeks.
It's like a prisoner. It was like a human being, right?
Yes, they're human beings. They have their cells and stuff like that. But after a
Given
month,
advice to do what? End the world?
their point are to conduct experiments without the risk of researchers losing their lives and stuff like that.
Jesus, man.
Here are the discovery notes.
Send them
3600.
to me or something.
Well, I'm gonna read them.
Uh,
Yep. The SCP was discovered during an archaeological dig blank kilometers outside of blank. Helpful. The Foundation became aware of 3600 after the loss of contact with the archaeological team and subsequent civilian investigation. Of the 14 original team members, 11 were dead. Cause of death determined to be severe and extensive neurological damage. 2 were in a coma and severely dehydrated, and 1 was missing. A further blank single
How
number.
much do you have to get paid to do this kind of job?
They get paid a lot of money. They actually do get paid a lot of money.
The risk of death is so high.
And the other thing that's really surprising to me is that they let them have homes and families. They just let them go home after a day.
Dude,
It's just a regular job. It's so weird. But there are definitely times where they're Foundation personnel have to be on site 24/7. They have their own dorms.
Right, because they need to make sure that they're
Yeah.
not gonna talk, right? Yeah.
Exactly, because of how sensitive this information is. There are countermeasures in place in case that happens, though.
If it does happen, they'll probably just kill their whole family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right, this is one of my favorite things. You know the chemtrail theory? They're dropping chemicals through planes to alter our thoughts and stuff like that. Stuff like that. I was reading SCP once, and they were like, if knowledge of this SCP gets out, a plane is immediately permitted to fly over a city and drop a Class A amnestic chemtrail over the city. Alright. Class A amnestics are memory deletion serums, basically. It's an aerosol spray.
It's probably already happened to you, and you don't even know it.
That's the thing. It's an aerosol spray that deletes the last 2 weeks out of your memory.
Oh, God.
And that's just Class A.
Everybody in the city, right?
Yes, everyone that is administered Class A amnestics immediately forgets the past 2 weeks. There's Class A through Class D. Actually, don't know.
Yeah.
It's a small number, but you can definitely make more to fit the narrative.
Right.
Okay. A further single number digit Foundation personnel were lost to casualties before the nature became unknown. The missing team member from the dig was tracked and found 6 weeks later, along with a partially constructed instance of 3602. There's a footnote that says, see the recovery log for details. He was terminated by Foundation personnel when he became violent during apprehension. The general idea is if security personnel find someone that needs to be taken into custody, they will try and arrest them. But if they become violent, they'll shoot them. Well, me too.
Shoot them, kill them on sight.
Yes,
right?
they will shoot them. Sometimes there's stories where Foundation personnel will come in and just kill people immediately, but I really don't like that because it's very uncharacteristic.
So?
Yeah, Foundation personnel don't really kill people on site unless it's that bad.
They're really trying to test it first, so scientists over
because
killers.
They'll have information that's more valuable to them if they're alive,
Right.
Yeah. They're looking for more potential instances of this SCP. 6 months after following the incident of this 3601, I think is the discovery of it. No. This is you remember that researcher, Dr. R, that saw the alphabet and saw that? So now he's a senior researcher 6 months after the incident. Senior researcher R was apprehended trying to remove SCP blank from containment. A 4-digit number, so anything from 2,000 or 1,000 up. An investigation revealed a warehouse rented by Dr. R under a pseudonym in which a large complex device was found, which is in the recovery log. Psychological analysis of Dr. R revealed signs of severe depression and disassociation, which failed to show up in post-incident checkups. See the interview transcript for information. Here's the interview transcript.
Okay.
It is a whole lot of black bars. It takes place in November, sometime in the 2010s. The interviewee is Dr. R, former researcher. He's been fired at this point. And the interviewer is Site Director blank C. So I guess I'm just gonna go back and forth.
C is like
Chandler?
Like
Chandler? Interesting.
What?
moving on. Here's the beginning of the log. Director C says, "Tell me about the device, blank. Why would you build something like that?" R says, "What do you want me to say, blank? That I did it for the good of the Foundation, scientific curiosity? That I was compelled?" C, "Come on, R. You know what happens next. 10 minutes from now, they're going to stick you in a box, and you'll never see the light of day again, I guess. You'll never see the outside of it again. I just need to know why." Why? You know the kind of shit we deal with every day. The things we've seen, the things we've supposedly contained. They don't even scratch the surface. Do you know how many of these K-class scenarios I've got in my head? Dozens, maybe hundreds. C, "Why didn't you say something? We could have helped you." And Dr. R laughed sharply. Dr. R, "How? The amnestics didn't work, and that's basically the only tool we have here, isn't it? Lock it up or make everyone forget it was there in the first place. The Foundation, the grand arbiters of what should and shouldn't be known." Director C, "We keep people safe, damn it. You know that. You used to believe that." Dr. R speaks quietly. "Now I know better. Do you know how many of these scenarios will trigger within a year if we just wait? No fancy devices, no breach containment. We just sit here and the end will come. And when it does, you'll wish you'd let me finish that thing. I bet you've already got it locked up in some room downstairs, desperately trying to work out what it does. Who's working on it? Blank and blank? The world will have ended 3 times over before they learn anything." Director C,
Jeez.
"Yeah, right. My god, blank, have you lost your mind? The reason we do what we do, the reason the Foundation exists, is to stop the things you're describing. The world continues because we don't just sit here and wait. Tell us what these things are and we'll stop them." Dr. R says, "You can't stop what's coming, not all of it, and when it happens, in those last moments you'll understand why I built the device. It would have been quick, painless. What's coming won't be." Dr. R pauses briefly and sighs. "I didn't want to have to do it this way. It's not as clean or simple as I would have liked, but you've left me little choice. I'm sorry, blank." Director says, What are you..." And then he stops talking. Dr. R stands up, and there's an automatic message here in the transcript. "Warning, active memetic hazard detected, purging affected content." Director C collapses to the ground and begins seizing. Dr. R says, "This won't be pretty, certainly not for anyone nearby, but it will get the job done and it'll still be better than the alternatives." Dr. R takes a pen from Director C's jacket and begins forcefully scoring symbols into the skin of his arm. A few seconds later, the door is kicked open by response teams. "Agent blank, stop what you're doing down on the ground." But before he can finish the sentence, Dr. R says the memetic hazard again, and it gets purged. Response team members collapse and begin seizing. Dr. R is silent for the remainder of the log while he continues to mark symbols on various parts of Director C's body. 47 seconds later, an incendiary device can be seen rolling through the door. Recording equipment is destroyed. Director C and Director R were both pronounced dead following the incident. Research into the origin of the memetic agent used by Dr. R is ongoing. The symbols being carved into the Director's skin were consistent with those found on SCP blank. Effects of inscribing them onto the skin of a living subject is unknown. Research ongoing. It's implied that whatever these symbols were, it would cause the end of the world.
Who comes up with this stuff, man?
Creative people, dude. Very creative people. And that's the thing. This isn't like...
It's not just dark. It's detailed, too.
Yes, it's very detailed. And, like, the thing about it is, like, it's not inherently scary. It's just an alphabet that gives you visions of the end of the world. But, like, what's scary about it is that how easy it is to do it.
Right, all you gotta do is read it, you know what I mean?
All you have to do is read it, and all you have to do is do what it told you to do. Because then, if you do the thing, which you already have the knowledge of how to do, you end the world easy.
Jesus. But some of the stuff's probably some of the stuff's got to be complicated, right?
Yes, it gets more complicated.
Like ending the world through nuclear war. Like not a single person can do that. You know what I mean?
I think. Oh, there's an SCP that does that. There's a story about a computer system called Scramble, which is held in Site 1. Site 1 is the site where all the O5 Council are held, and there's absolutely 0 anomalous entities allowed on site to keep everyone safe. But there's also a computer called Scramble, which is a heartbeat system. So it sends a signal out to all the sites and gets a signal back. If it doesn't get a signal back, then that site's on-site nuclear warhead is detonated. There's a story about the scramble system.
Everything.
Yes, everything on site is destroyed. If it can be destroyed by a nuke.
Some SCP's gotta be able to survive that, though.
Oh
right?
yes, there are totally SCPs that can do that.
7-3 can probably survive a nuclear bomb.
Well, there's no way to know for sure.
Guess
The story goes that Scramble goes haywire and no one can fix it. So basically, all sites across the world's nuclear warheads go off all at once.
it's like total chaos after that.
Yep.
Jeez.
Following this incident, all subjects exposed to the SCP-3600 for tests, including those conducted as part of Project Thia, are to remain in Class 3 memetic quarantine until the nature of knowledge is granted to them can be confirmed to contain known memetic infohazardous or cognitohazardous dangers. Project Thia. Okay. Now this is where it gets deeper. Forward of Project Thia. Following the incidents involving former researcher Dr. R, and after analyzing the data acquired from test subjects after exposure to SCP-3600, it has been decided by the O5 Council that the value of the information that can be extracted from the SCP far outweighs the risk associated with the process. To that end, Project Thia has been formed with the following goals: to document individually each scenario of which exposure to SCP-3600 confers knowledge, to map each scenario to its corresponding character or the characters in SCP-3600, to research the origins of SCP-3600 and 3601 in an attempt to determine if more examples of SCP-3600 exist undiscovered. It's totally possible. If this is a written language from ancient times, it could be possible that there's more tablets somewhere else that's been written down.
More words, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like, what if there's more characters written down?
Be like deep underground, like in
Mm-hmm.
the desert. You know what I mean?
This will undoubtedly take time. Conservative estimates based on the multiplicative nature of SCP-3600 exposure put the number of potential scenarios to be documented in the millions. Millions, Chandler.
Millions of tablets or millions of words?
Millions of scenarios. K-class scenarios.
And like one word gave how many scenarios again?
One can give anywhere from 1 to 3 so far.
Jesus.
Oh
God.
They
That's a lot
want
of tablets though.
yes, and Project Thia.
That's just like tablets that are like.
Well,
huge, you know?
well, one tablet holds 10,000 characters.
Hold up. Just say.
One tablet contains 10,000 characters.
It's like exact, right?
Yes.
They know that.
Yes. It's easier to count to 10,000 than it is to a million. So, they're basically saying, like, they want to write down every character and all the scenarios that character gives them. That's 10,000 characters, and how many characters they're seeing, that's millions of scenarios. By necessity, progress will be slow, but the information to be gained here from may mean the difference between the continuation of human life and the extinction of everything we strive to protect. That was a message written by 054. Test brief. As documented in early test cases at Incident 3601, there are certain risks associated with SCP-3600 exposure. In order to mitigate those risks, the following restrictions are placed on subjects being exposed to 3600. Under no circumstances are test subjects to be exposed to more than 25 individual characters at any time. Well, at once, I guess. Until such time as the risk of severe neurological trauma and significant psychological issues can be mitigated or avoided entirely. No test subject shall be exposed to more than one character per week, and not until all scenarios of which they currently have knowledge have been documented. So, that right there tells you it takes a week for them to know that. Okay, let's assume it takes a week just to avoid the neurological damage. That means in that week they can tell 1 to 3 scenarios. I'm going to say 3 days. I'm going to say it takes a day to describe a K-class scenario then, at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be complicated. It's like how the world works, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because they know how it happens, when it happens, where it happens, stuff like that. Following the 10th exposure and completion of subsequent documentation, test subjects may request to be transferred out of Project Thia. Those wishing to continue their participation in the project must submit to rigorous psychological analysis following each exposure in order to screen for potential psychological issues that might arise as a result. Additionally, the time between each exposure is increased to a minimum of 2 weeks. Should a test subject begin displaying any psychological changes as a result of the exposure, or should they reach the allotted limit of 25 exposures, they are to be transferred out of Project Dia following the completion of relevant documentation. You know what this is giving me vibes of? Super heavy vibes, Chandler. The Elder Scrolls.
Why do you say that?
Because when you look at an Elder Scroll, you go blind, right? It drives you insane.
Right.
And it's something basically like the end of the world, right? I haven't played that far in Oblivion and I don't really learned much of the plot, but I think you do get an Elder Scroll that transports you to the plains of Oblivion or something like that. But it's something like that. It gives me super heavy vibes of the Elder Scrolls. These steps are intended to reduce the risk of neurological trauma to subjects and to prevent any significant personality changes. I'm going to skip some things here. The following restrictions are additionally placed upon potential test subjects. The subject must have no history of significantly traumatic events and must display no signs of depression, suicidal ideation, sociopathy, psychopathy, or any other psychological condition that might disqualify them from participation as determined by Project Dia psychologists. The subject must possess a level of education no higher than that of a typical graduate of the American high school system. The subject...
Why don't they want smart people?
Because I think it's like a baseline. It's like if you have someone that has knowledge of advanced chemistry or physics or something like that, you have no way of knowing how much they learn, you know, because they're already super smart. But if you have someone that's not as smart and they suddenly do get super smart, then you can tell it's because of the SCP.
Right.
The subject must score at least an 8.5 on the Riemann-Klashkov emotional stability test. I have no idea what that means. Yeah. Foundation personnel are automatically disqualified at this time. It's too big a risk for Foundation personnel to even look at it. Not just to keep them safe, but because they're more capable of creating devices and stuff like that.
Or capable of like ending the world on their own?
Yes, because they have access to materials and stuff like that. Due to the obvious limitations imposed by these restrictions on the number of viable candidates to be found within the D-Class personnel pool, proposals for subjects from alternate sources are currently being considered. As of sometime in the 2010s, individual exposure of 2.7% of the characters has been completed. When factoring in compound scenarios, Project Dia designation for knowledge scenarios that result from exposure combination. Okay. Project Dia has documented over 5,000 potential K-class scenarios. And that's just from 2.7% of the alphabet. Let me actually do math here. 10,000 times 0.27. Nope, 0.027. That's 270 characters taught them 5,000 K-class scenarios. Oh my god.
It's gotta be more than 1 to 3, right?
Huh?
Or, letter?
What was that?
It's gotta be more than like 1 to 3 scenarios per letter.
Probably. You can probably average it out. Oh wait, no, because compound scenarios, which means if you view more than one alphabet number at a time. So these are the recovery logs of 3602 instances, which are the devices that can bring about the end of the world. To date, the construction of 3 instances of 3602 have been documented. 3602A recovered sometimes in the 2000s. Design notes: 4 identical devices in similar stages of construction designed to accept large amounts of input material. Connected to large chimney structures and one device superficially resembling a jet engine oriented with its exhaust pointed upwards. This one is insane, Chandler. It is. I read this one, and I literally went, "Holy shit!" Just imagining what. Alright, I'm gonna tell you the functionality of it, and then I'm gonna tell you what it does. The 4 devices with chimneys, through an anomalous process currently under investigation, are able to break down input material and convert it into a currently unidentified gaseous substance, which is then vented into the atmosphere. The turbine-like device appears to be some form of plasma generator designed to fire a continuous stream of plasma into the atmosphere. It is theorized that activating the turbine would cause significant damage to itself and the surrounding area, meaning its operation time would be short. This is where it gets insane. Testing of the gaseous substance revealed it to be highly explosive when exposed to high-energy plasma particles, though it showed no reaction when in contact with flame or electrical charges. It is theorized that if enough of the gas was pumped into the atmosphere, here's a footnote, current estimates show that all 4 devices running for approximately 13 days at maximum output would create a sufficient amount of gas. The plasma from the turbine would be sufficient to cause a chain reaction, functionally igniting the atmosphere of the planet and resulting in an XK-class end-of-the-world scenario.
And lighting us all on fire?
It lights the entire atmosphere of Earth on fire.
Oh, God. Go down, bro.
Right? How does this happen?
Painful.
It's anomalous, that's why. Anomalous gas that can... Oh my god. Current status, disassembled. Parts stored in the secured containment vault at site blank, pending further analysis of anomalous properties. Thank God things like this don't exist.
Nah, disassembled my ass, bro. The government doesn't that shit, like...
They have it. 3602B, constructed in Foundation custody. 12 interlocking rings. This one's a little weird. Hold on, let me see if this is the right one. I think it is. Yes, okay. I can delve into this one.
Alright.
Constructed in Foundation custody. 12 interlocking rings assembled in an 8-meter diameter spherical formation connected to a mechanical system designed to allow each ring to rotate freely on each axis. A number of similar electronic components attached at various points around each ring. Based on the design and description of intended effect, this is an apparent attempt to recreate SCP-319, which I'll get into in a second.
Alright.
Construction and subsequent deactivation of this device would have resulted in a ZK-class reality failure scenario, assuming it functioned as intended. Of note is that 34539 made no mention of the anomalous mineral samples found in 319 at any point during construction. Status disassembled, parts sent to Site 319 for analysis. Okay, I'm going to give you the basic rundown of 319. It's a machine with 12 interlocking rings assembled in 8-meter diameter spherical formation, allowing a clockwork mechanism, yada yada yada. (319-2) designates a bubble of vacuum. Appears to be low energy state in the surrounding universe. Because the alteration of physical constants within this bubble, any matter and energy entering this bubble is annihilated, as their quantum structures are incompatible. The article then goes on to say this would represent a ZK0 reality failure scenario. The universe would continue to exist, but would not only cease to support life as we know it, but would fail to support chemistry as we know it. Basically saying...
Everything has changed at that point.
Yes. It basically says that this thing can create the universe would be in such a low energy state, no elements would be able to fuse or fission. They would not be able to separate, they would not be able to come together. Chemistry would cease to exist. And by proxy, all life would cease to exist. The reality would fail.
Do you think of like a new life form?
Nope.
Come out of that?
Nope. It's our reality. Our reality doesn't have things like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
There are such things as aliens in the SCP universe, though.
Yeah.
Here's the last log. This is the last thing of the article.
Yeah.
Okay. 3602C recovered sometime in 2010. This was the researcher, I think. This one's cool too.
Mm-hmm.
This one's creative. This is a very creative article because it's not just like an asteroid hits the Earth. I mean, that is in there, but like nuclear war and all that. But then there's also the entire atmosphere gets lit on fire, or something breaks and breaks containment, and the entire universe stops existing. A highly complex device combining a variety of purely theoretical and previously unknown technologies, operation and functionality impossible to determine from visual analysis alone. Apparently designed to neutralize, invert, or otherwise interfere with the force of gravity on a per-atom basis throughout local space to an estimated range of 1.6 astronomical units. Here's a little science quiz, Chandler. What
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
What object in space is exactly 1.6 astronomical units away from Earth?
The moon.
Nope.
What is it?
It's the sun.
Oh,
1.6.
real close, bro.
Real close. 1.6 astronomical units is the sun. The sun's distance from Earth. All knowledge. Actually, is it? It might be 1 AU. Is Earth to the sun? I don't know. Anyway.
Close though, right?
It's close enough. All knowledge on the functionality of 3600-2C was gained from logs and documents recovered from the scene. Unable to theorize on the exact results of acting the device, though it would certainly end in a CK-class restructuring of reality in which the Earth and the Sun no longer exist as physical objects.
Oh, God.
Of particular concern is that the device was apparently complete at the time of recovery, with the exception of an empty slot obviously designed to contain SCP blank.
It's kind of weird thing to think about, right? Just like define the laws of physics as we know it.
Yep. And here's the thing about it. It was so bad that the status of it is it was disassembled piece by piece and documented over the course of 2 years, each piece individually destroyed. That's the end of the article. It's a long one.
That's it.
Yep.
That's a long one.
SCP-3600. Documenting Doomsday. This marks the end of episode 1 of the Level-0 Lorecast. Hopefully you found this interesting. But this is still a work in progress. Any input would be appreciated. And there are definitely places where we can fix things. The next episode will be up soon. Just need to record it. But otherwise, thanks for listening.